Hey everybody, it's Kairos coming in with a jungle concepts video on lane priority. So basically how to work around your lanes, how to recognize if you have priority, if you don't have priority, and just the overall concept. So what I have here is just a scenario setup that we can walk through some different alternatives and figure out what priority looks like. So first off, the question to ask is what is priority? And so I define priority as the ability for your laner to leave lane without being punished. And so there are a few different ways that they could be punished for leaving lane, whether that's to help you on a scuttle, to help you with an invade, to help you on another objective, to back you up in a fight. So the first way that your laner might be punished is in losing golden XP to turret. So if you're on Scuttle Crab, and we'll say that you're the Pantheon, the Olaf comes and contests you, but the Orianna is pushed all the way into turret. If she roams up here to try and back you up on the Scuttle Crab, if there is a wave at the turret right here, then the turret will continue hitting that, and she will not be in range to get any of the XP, any of the gold, and so this is where she does not have priority because she'll be punished losing XP to the turret, and so that's one scenario, and so then another way that individuals are punished is by being out of position to potentially get killed or chunked, and so we'll say that the Orianna is level 5, the Lissandra is level 6, so Lissandra's a little bit stronger right now, and Orianna comes right here to try and help you, but the Olaf is between them. This means she doesn't have priority because this will put her in a position where she could be collapsed on by both Olaf and Lissandra, and if Lissandra's level 6, this is a really easy kill to pick up, and you just won't be able to match that fight. And so right here, she doesn't have priority to walk over based on just a strength difference. If the opponent is stronger or has more abilities, has power spikes, if your laner's sitting on more gold, those are all factors that will lend themselves to having priority or not having priority. If, on the other hand, if Orianna is level 6, Lissandra's level 5, in the same scenario, she would have priority to come over and to get onto Olaf. Although the lane state does come into play, so if it's further like this, then she might not have priority. And so there's a few, it really comes down to the position of the wave as well as the position of the champions to be able to diagnose who has priority in a given lane. So basically, with that said, as a jungler, it's your job to correctly read priority. So if both of these lanes are pushed, you don't know where Olaf is, and you come up and try to do a Scuttle Crab, and they collapse on you and your laners don't come, that's your fault for not reading the priority correctly and going for this fight. And also it's your fault if Orianna tries to roam up and gets chunked out and then she has a disadvantage in lane. That's your responsibility to not go for a play that will detract from your laner's ability to join the fight. So priority, that's even if she walks up and she takes a bad trade here and then comes back to lane, even if you get this scuttle, it's probably not worth it because she loses quite a bit in lane. Will get poked out, might have to reset and lose an extra wave and a half to turret. So that's your responsibility as a jungler to recognize that. And then next up, we were just talking about how to determine priority. So the position of the wave is super important in determining priority. So if Orianna has a big wave that's pushing up into Lissandra here, this is a good time to look for an invade, to look for this Scuttle Crab, pretty safe in this area. Because if Olaf does come up, then Orianna has priority to walk over, and Lissandra doesn't want to come over. Even if she does, and they end up getting a kill or something like that, she's lost XP to the turret in that scenario. And so that's can be a worthwhile trade, or at least it's better than if Orianna is pushed in and she roams and Lissandra comes and they get the kill. Then it's completely over. And so that's why playing around priority is really important. And like I mentioned, power spikes of items and power spikes of levels come into play for this as well. So we'll say up top, Shin has like a completed Titanic, and then Nasus is just sitting on components, then he will probably not have priority. Even if this lane is even, Shin will be much stronger coming over this fight. We'll say that the lane is stuck right in the middle here. So they both have the same wave advantage. It's the same wave state, but because of Shin's power spike, that he has a better item and Nasus doesn't have a completed item, that means that he has priority for the time being. And so you can't expect Nasus to roam and have the same effectiveness coming over here to help you on this fight or whatever the objective is. And then another kind of scenario of this that comes down to the position of the laners. If Orianna is pushed all the way in, but you see Lissandra channel a back, then you know that the position of Lissandra is back here, the position of Orianna is right here. So once she clears this wave, she will have full priority for a minute. That means that she can walk over, she can come to Rift Herald, she can roam up into top, you can 3-man top, and Lissandra won't have any priority for the next 20 or so seconds while she's back and then walking back out onto the map, unless she has TP. And so those are windows where it might not seem like you have priority. There might be fog of war all around here, so you don't know where Lissandra is. But if you know she's back, then you'll have full priority mid for the time being, despite the wave being all the way pushed. So you can use priority to counter jungle. And so if you get everything's pushed up here, you can come into the bottom side and you can counter jungle pretty aggressively, just knowing that your laners will be quicker, or like they would prefer to collapse, versus these guys don't want to leave the lane and they don't want to lose out on that CS, that gold, and that XP. And so even if they do come, you're winning. And so if they collapse on this, if Olaf comes over, they come down, all you have to do to win this trade is just leave. So Olaf comes over, they collapse, your teammates are positioning, you just leave, and they lose out on gold and XP while they're trying to help out their jungler. And this doesn't cost you anything to do this play, and then you back up when they approach, your laners go back, then their laners come back, and they have less XP and less gold now because of that play, because they came to help their jungler. And so it's really a lose-lose if you play around priority correctly. Also, this can help you set up dives and help you enable your laners. And so if you have priority over here, or are going to have a wave crashing, you can push mid for priority and then rotate together through the jungle to set up a dive on the bot side. And Lissandra now, she is farming under turret, and so she really doesn't want to leave. So best case scenario for them, it's a 3v4, and you have that potential dive, or Olaf might not even want to approach this fight. And so you can use priority to set up dives and plays around the map, kind of like that. So then also it helps to set up priority when taking objectives, so you can gank for priority. So if this lane is pushed up, then you can gank even knowing that it's a Janna and an Ashe, and it's not super likely that you get a kill here. You can gank, force them to leave the lane, or force them back to farm under turret, and then you can go help them push in, and then they can rotate over, and you've established priority in order to take the Drake, instead of just hoping that Olaf doesn't face check you, because if you don't establish priority before, then he'll collapse and they'll be the first ones to move from bot side, and you'll lose that trade. So ganking to establish priority is is a good strategy to set up for objectives. And then the final part of this is pretty much anticipating when priority is going to be coming soon. And so if your wave is dying to the Orianna right here at the turret, and she's getting a wave from base right here, Lissandra's wave is all the way back here. And so that's going to be pushing into her. So I did a whole video on how to read lanes. And so priority is always changing, and being able to understand when you'll have priority soon or when you're going to be losing priority soon will help you understand the windows of when you can gank, when you can't gank, when you can start soloing objectives. So for example, if Lissandra, on the other hand, is pushed in and the wave is going to be bouncing back towards Orianna, right now you have priority, so you can maybe take Drake, but in 20 seconds, this wave is going to be pushing back towards Orianna, and then Lissandra is going to have priority. And so if you're not done with this Drake in that 20-second window, then they can collapse and they can make sure that you aren't able to solo this Drake, and Orianna can't move because the wave's coming into her. And so that's another application for basically reading lane states as it applies to understanding priority. That's pretty much it for this video. So hope that you enjoyed it and that you can apply some of this into your gameplay.
Boy, I am